We got South Carolina heading to Kroger Field to play Kentucky. Kentucky is favored by 10 points in this game. Like we talked about already, a very sneaky rivalry. Mark Stoops, he said it in the offseason. We don't need to wear stupid sunglasses and do a dance to feel good about ourselves. I'm paraphrasing. That's kind of what he said. Pretty direct subtweet at Shane Beamer. I mean, there's not really anybody else that's wearing sunglasses and doing dances for their program. All right, I'll leave it at that. So there's a little bit of juice behind this one. For South Carolina, they're trying to hit the reset button. They're trying to course correct. Started out really, really funky, had a tough 3-game stretch to start the year. They had Georgia State, Georgia, and Arkansas. It's a really tough recipe, honestly, if you're South Carolina. So they had 2 get-right games now. Took care of business in both of them. This is going to be for them the fork in the road that they can sort of restart their season and be who they want to be. So we'll see what happens. For Kentucky, they really felt like they should have won that game against Ole Miss. And they had every opportunity to. They got within Ole Miss territory multiple times, couldn't finish, end up going home with an L, just the way that it is. They got to find a way to wash this one away. Every single year under Mark Stoops, they have had back-to-back losses. So can they break that streak? Can they get off the schneid, get back right, and come with it in this game? Because it should be a really good atmosphere. More on that in just a little bit. My question for this game largely surrounds Spencer Rattler. For Spencer Rattler to beat Kentucky, I think he's got to have some mobility mixed in there. He's got to keep him honest because he's a pretty good athlete. People forget he's able to do some good things with his legs. Spencer Rattler is a very big variable in this game for both programs, obviously, because before they got into those 2 get-right games, I think he had thrown like 5 interceptions, 2 touchdowns. It's not good, to say the least. Very, very much not good. When I look at the Kentucky side of things, a lot of it hinges on their offense. A lot of it hinges on what can they do to protect Will Levis. The offensive line, just calling a spade, didn't do a great job protecting him last week. There were multiple times where Will Levis was not able to get to his second read. There were multiple times where he was having to run for his life when really he shouldn't have had to. They got to do a better job protecting him. So how do they do that? I think some of it comes with offsetting the South Carolina defense. Can you hit him with a deep play early? Can you get Barry and Brown involved deep? Can you get Dane Key involved deep? Because one deep play early, guess what that does? The entire South Carolina defense then has to honor that. Then you can't just bring a corner off the edge. Then you can't just go zero coverage. Then you have to play a little bit more honest. And when you play more honest, well, then you can, 1, have more time to drop back and pass, advantage Kentucky. You also have the ability to run the football effectively, which is something they've been trying to get going. They now have Chris Rodriguez back in the lineup for the second game. I don't want to say he was rusty, but there's something to getting into the game action. I think that's very real. Chris Rodriguez has been really good historically against South Carolina. They're going to try and get that working. So all of what they want to do, in my opinion, can be much more readily available if they hit something deep early. So I'd test that. On top of that, with Chris Rodriguez, if they can get him going, the play-action game gets going. You see what I'm saying here? A lot of prongs to this thing come from some early success offensively for Kentucky. But we're talking to the people over there at KSR, our Kentucky On 3 site. The feeling is Kentucky is the better team. Vegas feels that way as well. The question is, how close does Kentucky allow this game to be with what their offense does? Because if the offense wants to continue to struggle early and they allow Will Levis to get sacked a lot and he has no time and he's sort of a non-factor, well, then South Carolina has a chance to sort of get their wind under them, be able to sort of get their stamina, and ultimately that's going to favor South Carolina long term. Because you give teams 4 quarters to figure it out, most of the good ones can figure it out. And Marcus Satterfield, regardless of what you think about him as an OC, you give him 4 quarters to eventually get sorted out what you're doing defensively because the offense can't score points, they're going to be in trouble. So at the end of the day, I really do think that the playmakers for Kentucky are the difference. Barry and Brown, Dane Key, Tavian Robinson, those are 3 dudes. And if it just takes one play to break this thing open, I think that's going to be the case. Now, it has to be early, like we talked about. But going back to this atmosphere, this is a night game for Kentucky. It's already sold out. there's a little thing that happens near Kroger Field called the Keeneland Races. And the Keeneland Races is a thing that happens in the morning, and people go to the racetrack. Let's call it what it is, they get rowdy. After getting rowdy, they go to the football game. They continue to be rowdy. So fire starts in the morning, fire burns all the way to game time, bonfire. All right? A big play would just be another piece of wood thrown into that bonfire and could make for a lot of trouble for this South Carolina program. So at the end of the day, we like Kentucky to win this game. We think they cover by just a little bit, 28-17. Mark Stoops and his program get back on track. Wildcats win at Kroger Field. Hey y'all, thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel here to make sure you don't miss an episode of The Hard Count. Also be sure to check out other videos on the On3 YouTube channel.